This is CityCast Madison. I'm Bianca Martin, and here's what Madison's talking about. Tade, are you having a happy holiday? I know we call it the happiest season, but sometimes this time of year can feel anything but. For many, the winter blues can set in. Dealing with family can be a lot, and that doesn't even touch on the stress of travel. That's why I'm bringing back my conversation with a local therapist, Myra Renee, owner of Anissa's Therapy, to share some tips and tricks on how to manage the merriest of seasons. Hi, Myra Renee.
Hi.
You're a certified psychotherapist, the founder and executive director of Anissa's Therapy, a mental health clinic right here in Madison. You personally grew that clinic from just you to over 50 staff members since 2016. You've won multiple awards, including NAMI Dane County 2020 Mental Health Trailblazer Award. Kind of big deal. But you're a bona fide person to talk to about mental health and how we might bolster our mental health. During the pandemic, I was just hearing over and over from folks that there was a wait for getting a therapist. Like, I had multiple friends, and then talking about myself as well, who were like calling different spots in Madison, like, can I get a therapist? You're going to have to wait 3, 4, 5. One person said 6 months to the place they wanted to be. So has that shifted at all? Like, I know that during the pandemic, mental health issues really were at the forefront of that global shutdown.
Yeah, it was definitely at the forefront. And I would say also because the world, in some sense, paused a little bit, enough for people to kind of check in with themselves and have the time and the accessibility. And I know this isn't for everyone because you still needed internet and those kind of devices, but the majority of people had more accessibility to mental health care because you could get it right from your home. And so I definitely think things have changed. We saw some major wait lists, I would say, probably starting around the pandemic all the way through 2023, I think we had a wait list of 1,400 people. We got through that wait list and now we kind of average
Holy
around.
smokes.
Yeah, I know.
Holy smokes. Here in Madison, 1,400.
Yes, in Madison. Yep. And I would say too, that was us encouraging people try to look other places as well. And so we did get through that wait list. And I would say now that we would average anywhere from 200 to 400 people on our wait list. 2 to 4 months right now is what people are waiting, which is much better than what it was in 2023 even.
Wow. So we're still kind of there, 2 to 4 months.
Yeah.
I mean, do you, just like right off the bat, do you have other recommendations if folks are looking for kind of immediate help? Like, I know there's online therapies. I don't know, if you have thoughts on that.
Yeah. Right now, a lot of the online therapies are like these very big corporations. And, sometimes it's a hit or miss of what you're going to get. I have some bias against like big corporations, kind of making the mental health industry kind of like this very like commercialized big business thing. But that is an option, right? And you have to do what you need to do. I would say be very open to other types of mental health care groups. Sometimes you can get into a group easier. Also, I know at Anissa's, we have free drop-in mental health clinics. And so those clinics, you don't need to have an appointment. We're open. You can get the information off of our website, but we have a drop-in clinic on Tuesdays, Wednesdays, and Thursdays. And there are certain times specific, and you just come in. You don't need health insurance and you don't need an appointment. You just come in. It's only 30 minutes because we want to honor everyone that comes in and try to get in everybody that comes in. But that's an option if you need immediate care.
That's huge. Those are fantastic recommendations, and it's great to know that that exists. We're starting out right off the bat about talking about getting into therapy. that is something that is a major benefit for people's mental health.
Yes.
Starting out the conversation, you mentioned taboo and that you feel like there's been a shift around that. I'm certainly a therapy head, 10 years strong. I love it. Can't get enough of it. But I want to say at the outset of this conversation, it feels like there's also maybe more of a growing consensus that everyone benefits from paying attention to and supporting their mental health, even if they do not have mental illness.
Yes. What I've noticed some trends in talking to therapists is, before the pandemic, you would keep a client on your roster for like 10, 15 years, and the frequency might change, right? Maybe you don't see them every week, but you see the same client. And then when COVID hit, we kind of had to reassess who was on our rosters. And, if there wasn't really a lot going on, we're kind of like, can you be discharged? Because there are like people like in very, high need and need it right away. And so it really kind of changed the way also I think a lot of therapists are approaching therapy of trying to get as many people in and also out to get other people in as well.
I'm feeling over here like a therapy hog 10 years, but I've had like many therapists and moved from city to city and have trauma and not that I have to justify it, but yeah.
I think it's been very hard for therapists, and then you hear the frustration of people saying like, I've been on these wait lists, but you're on the wait list because there's people that are being seen. So it's a very hard thing to juggle, that need of understanding the needs of the people you're seeing, but also understanding that there are people, there's so many heartbreaking situations that really need to get in and be seen as well.
Mm-hmm. Well, and before I move on from the taboo conversation, there are a lot of people with heartbreaking situations that might feel barriers or feel like this isn't for me necessarily. Like, have you seen a shift around the way people are discussing mental health in the general public with your clients, in your profession?
I think we've swayed, and we tend to do this in our culture, right? Where it's like, it's very taboo thing. Oh, I don't need that. I don't want to look like I'm weak. I don't want to look like I'm quote unquote crazy, right? Used to be kind of like what people would say. And now it's really swing the other way where people are coming in and they're like self-diagnosing themselves with all their family members with all sorts of different diagnoses. And us as therapists saying, slow down. Where did you get this? And you have like the young people, I follow so-and-so on TikTok, so-and-so on Instagram, and us really needing to kind of slow it down of, some things we need to normalize. Some behaviors are perfectly fine and okay and not maladaptive necessarily. But we're in this phase now of really welcoming all that information and really wanting to better our mental health. Is sometimes we kind of sway the opposite way of kind of consuming too much and being a little bit overly concerned.
I would fall into that category, I'd have to say. I think
So many people.
Audible gave me like an award for how much self-help like psychology books I've read. They're like, you're in the top listeners. Right. Just like I'm following all kinds of therapists. But it is this moment, right, where there is a lot of instability in the world, like coming out of the pandemic, during the pandemic, of international instability, economic instability, our groceries, we can't afford rent. The rent is too damn high. And just with the screens, like folks are hooked to their screens and numbing and maybe not having the tools to actually feel their feelings, but just scrolling on through.
Right. It's a lot.
It's a lot.
Yeah, it's a lot. And we are bombarded with so much information. And then for those people who are maybe similar to me, who are like very like almost like an empath, right? Like very empathetic to almost every single cause, that can feel very overwhelming too, and almost make you feel like you have no sense of power to do anything about all of these things.
Oh, man. Yeah. I mean, literally, your inboxes were flooded. 1,400 people,
Yeah.
and
Yeah.
you staffed up, but it sounds like there's also maybe some literacy that's needed in general about what is okay and what are normal
Yeah.
feelings and normal,
Yes.
ups and downs versus really needing some extra professional help. But I also want to talk about, in general, do you have recommendations for folks who are just trying to promote their mental well-being, mental wellness?
Yes, I think there are like some really key things that just anybody can do to take care of their wellness and their mental health. One really important thing is community. I don't believe we were made to be alone and to be isolated. It is one of the worst things you can do for your mental health and your wellness is to be isolated and to feel alone. Friendships, community, and as we get older, no matter what your family background is, because some of us don't have that family support, the great thing is you get to pick your community. And so picking people that are supportive, that are healthy, that have same interests of you is very, very important to your well-being. So I would say that is like one really huge thing.
I pulled a quote off your website.
Uh-huh.
It's a
Yes.
photo of you and it's got a bell hooks quote that quote,
Yes.
rarely if ever are any of us healed in isolation. Healing is an act of community.
Yes. And I have that framework always in mind when I think of our clinic, because I have always said if all of us were individual therapists on our own, I think we could do some work, but I think all of us coming together to do work together, we go stronger and we go a lot faster. And we're not doing it alone. So it's also very supportive to us as clinicians, too. It's just so healing for the soul to have that.
Because also kind of shame lurks in the darkness,
Yes.
right?
Yes. And I would say too, our bodies are so connected to our mental health. And so walking and moving and being out in the sun, and we don't get a lot of sun. So, whether it's like buying one of those, the UV lights, sunlight things that can be in your office or at your home during the winter
For
months.
seasonal affective disorder.
Yes. Yes.
But we
Vitamin
all just have
D.
it. Let's
I think
just be
we all
honest.
have
Yeah.
that. We all, I mean,
We're
like,
like,
we have no sun here for most of the year. It's not healthy.
yeah. And the plants, we can literally physically see them move to the sun. I mean, I know
Yeah,
we don't photosynthesize exactly, but like it makes us happy.
there is so much science around that in depression. So, I mean, we need it. It's a need. And so like being really creative with that, movement, drinking water, a lot of these things don't surround money. Right? Community, moving, sunlight. Like these are things that we could just do without money, And I think so many times we think we have to buy things, have certain things. And if you really kind of look at like some of the most happiest people around the world are people who sometimes don't have like hardly anything when it comes to like financial resources, but they have community, they have their villages, they're moving, and those things are priceless.
Yeah. And actually, fun fact, you can check out the sad lamps. You can check out those special
Yes.
lamps from the library.
Yes.
So you don't even have to buy one.
No.
Yeah.
Now that I did not know.
Yes. Yes. Your library card can get you a lot. We've got a whole episode about that.
Wow.
But yeah, there are happy lamps at the library. So, and shout out to community, like community resource
Yes.
for the community.
Yes.
Yeah.
Yes. I think also, less screen time. Reels are so fun that I get sucked into, right? They are so fun. There's so many things that like make me laugh and, touching things. And then sometimes things just can feel really overwhelming, right? The news, politics, all those things. But we also weren't created to know everything all the time. Like that's
Right.
also not sustainable for our health and our thoughts. It's just too much. We weren't created to have that much information all the time.
Right. There's a literal like capacity that our brain
Yes.
can handle.
Yes. And I think like some ways to like practice like being mindful and present, and we can get really caught up in fears and worries and kind of reminding ourselves like, where am I at right now? this is where I am. I'm safe. I'm loved. And kind of reminding and checking in with ourselves of like, yes, these are the possibilities of all the bad things, but this is where I'm at right now. And kind of practicing like being mindful of like the here and now.
And don't our brains have like a negativity bias
Oh,
to
yeah,
keep us alive? Like we were evolved to look for threats, not for, beautiful, optimistic, sunny moments.
exactly. Yeah. And like gratefulness too. I mean, there's so many studies around, gratefulness and, there could be like 101 things going wrong. Right. But when you start thinking about, but, I'm really grateful I have my health, or I'm really grateful, I have a roof over my head. I'm really grateful, yeah, there's a lot of stress in my job, but oh, I'm so grateful I have a job right now. It can really just start changing your whole perspective and outlook for your day. So sometimes starting off your day with gratefulness, ending your day with gratefulness, doing it around the table. We used to do that all the time with my kids around the table. We would always talk about roses and thorns. What was your thorn? But we always ended off with, what was your rose, though?
I really appreciate that. And that's another form of kind of pausing and thinking about your experience because is just so much going on all the time. I wanted to shout out feeling your feels, because I
Yes.
really am. I just like we stay busy and then I want to move from one screen to the next. I'm guilty of numbing online with
Yes.
all of this stuff.
I think too, like in American culture, like we haven't been taught how to handle feelings outside of happiness.
Go off.
We are obsessed with like always needing to feel happy and joy. And then also like going on social media and like, look at all these people happy and joy. Like, and then sometimes like, even like when people will post like something sad, people will be really taken back. Like, oh, I can't believe you like posted something so sad.
Right.
Which is like, you kind of understand that, but also at the same time, like that is a part of the human experience too. Having really disappointing experiences and moments in our life, sadness, grief. These are emotions I think we're kind of not taught to like deal with as a community or as a culture. I would say like American culture in general, like we kind of don't know what to do with those feelings and how to support one another and how to just kind of sit there with like feelings that aren't so nice.
I've heard that a lot. And like also around our rites and rituals around people passing away and how to deal with that and how to deal with this very real part of life. And it's going to get better right away, this sort of positivity culture. I want to talk about one other beat around folks who may be suffering from mental illness or suspect that they
Yeah.
are and aren't sure what to do next because maybe it is maybe feeling shameful and not wanting to kind of name it because that might mean something negative. And also if someone has a loved one that they're seeing suffering and the same thing, not sure what to do next. Do you have any ideas for that, recommendations?
I would say give yourself some grace and really embrace it because I think, you know, I've had a few people, just like close friends, get diagnosed with autism as adults. And it's been like life changing for them because they're like, I just wish I would have known it when I was younger. But like to actually have a name to it, yes, in one sense, someone could look at it as being shameful. I don't think it's shameful at all, of course. But I guess some people could look at it that way, which I don't understand. But I know personally friends that have been like, no, this has been life changing. Now this all makes sense. And now I can get the support. Now I can do these certain things to kind of make some of these things that were challenges for me growing up. I know what to do now. I know what I can put in place to make me successful and to succeed in relationships or at work or education or whatever area that they're in their life right then. They can make those changes and adjustments because now they know. So I encourage people that if you do suspect, give yourself some grace, give yourself the permission to lean in and to learn more about yourself, right? Because it's a learning. And you get to kind of start fresh in some areas of your life because now you're going to learn the knowledge, you're going to learn more about yourself, the symptoms, and learn more about like why you do what you do and why you interact maybe with certain people a certain way or take things in a certain way. And it can just be life changing for a person in a very positive way.
In a very positive way. And, I've heard similar from adults who found out they have autism. I was at an event and I shared I have ADD. I've known that my whole life. And someone afterwards came up and thanked me for saying that. She's like, I just found out I have ADD. And she felt like it was a very genuine and sincere, like, it's a game changer for me because now I know and I've got the tools and just being able to label it. And I also want to say on the like stigma, people feeling like, oh, maybe this is something bad. I feel like it's part of this culture of villainizing difference when we should be celebrating it.
And I think, too, and depending on like what it is, because, when we talk about mental illness, it could be like so many different things. But I always say like sometimes, some mental illnesses, especially around trauma and any mental illness underneath that umbrella, those were coping mechanisms you learned to get you through a traumatic experience or traumatic time of your life. And sometimes you had to learn maladaptive behavior to survive. And guess what? Thank God your brain did that because it got you through that really difficult time. So now that the traumatic experience isn't happening now you just need to relearn how to cope and how to live without that experience happening to you. So sometimes mental illness saves someone's life. Sometimes dissociating during a traumatic experience is life-saving, right?
100%.
Doing fight, flight, freeze, that kind of, mechanism that we do in traumatic bond, right? Like all those things are life-saving. And so, it's the brain and some of these maladaptive behaviors that we learn is there for a reason.
They were adaptive in the moment.
They're adaptive. Yes.
Yeah.
Yes.
And then they're still with us. Oh, not me about to cry over here.
Right. Then it becomes maladaptive, right?
Right.
But it got you through it and you survived, right? And you're here and now you just have to relearn and kind of rewire your brain and the way it can work now in your peaceful state.
It's a journey of a lifetime.
Yes.
Personally working towards, I'm sure people are at home, like, yes. Well, Myra Renee, before we let you go, so, as folks continue on with their days and attending to their own mental health journeys, do you have any local resources you'd shout out or recommend that folks should keep in mind?
Yes. Well, I already mentioned our drop-in clinics that we have. Also, I would recommend Journey Mental Health has a hotline that's 24/7. So those are just some like local things that you can do. And then also like be really open to maybe other type of mental health kind of initiatives that are going around, like with NAMI, they have a lot of support groups. And so I would also recommend them too, because a lot of their support groups too are also free.
All right. Well, this has been an absolute pleasure. So many nuggets dropped. Myra, thank you so much for taking the time to join us on CityCast.
Thank you, Bianca. Thank you.
That's Myra Renee, founder and executive director of Anesis Therapy. If you want to find out more about their practice, head to our show notes for a link. And hey, if you or someone you know is struggling with mental health, please know you're not alone and there's help available. You can call the NAMI or National Alliance on Mental Illness National Helpline via phone at 1-800-950-NAMI or 6264 or text helpline, no space, to 62640. Or if you need immediate assistance with a mental health crisis, you can call or text 988 for the National Suicide and Crisis Lifeline. That's all for today, here on CityCast Madison. I'm your host, Bianca Martin. Don't forget, you can support the show and get great perks by becoming a CityCast Madison neighbor at membership.citycast.fm. And if you enjoyed today's show, why not share this episode with someone who needs a little extra support this holiday season?
Alrighty, we'll be back tomorrow morning with more stories from around the city. Until then, take good care.